Hello. Do you know what time of year it is? No, it's not New Year's yet. It's coming soon, though. It's not my birthday either. I'll give you a hint. It is one of the most favorite time of year for us here at Rizing. Still don't know? It's the SAP SuccessFactors second half release of 2023, of course. Welcome, everyone. I'm Shannon Ippolito, and I'm here once again with our panel of SuccessFactors experts, eager to walk you through their thoughts and highlights of this release. Before we dive in, let's have everyone introduce themselves. All right, Tim, start with you.
Hi, I'm Tim McAlpine. I'm the COE for Core HR and Platform.
Hi, I'm Kelly Abbott. I'm the COE for Global Time and Benefits.
My name is Ehsan Zedi, and I am the Global Center of Excellence Lead for Talent Acquisition at Rizing.
Hi, I'm Heather Stewart, and I'm the Talent Management Center of Excellence Lead.
And hello, my name is Jorge Rivas. I'm the Center of Excellence Lead for Technical and People and Analytics.
Great, thanks everyone. All right, I would like to kick off our discussion with just a few reminders on general release management. If you've been around before, you will know that I am pretty passionate about release management, and I have a few here reminders for you. We know whether you are new to the process or if you have been through this quite a few times, every release is a lot of information and it can be very overwhelming. SAP has all of their release items detailed out in what they call the What's New viewer. Definitely, if you are not already out there and reviewing that, to definitely go out there. It's on the help, saphelp.com, and you can download it via CSV. You can download it into a PDF. And when you first see the items there, there's going to be a See More link. You want to click on that link because that will actually open up the full page with a whole bunch of more detailed documentation on it. Obviously, depending upon the item, it's going to be less or more information. But SAP, once again, kudos to that team. Every release, they just continue to improve upon their documentation and the information they're sharing with all of us on each of the release items. So this is really going to be a great way to get very detailed, specific information available. Another huge thing that I think some folks don't take as much time with that they should is really testing these items. Whether you have one module or you have the full suite, testing is really crucial for some of these release items. You want to make sure that you're definitely testing anything you see as automatically on, right? Those are the features that are potentially you can't turn off or their new functionality. You want to make sure you're testing that. You also want to do some regression testing on your processes. Launch a PM form. If you are an Employee Central customer, please make sure you are walking through transactions, your typical transactions, your job changes, promotions. If you have recruiting, onboarding, EC, make sure you're going through a quick full cycle test case. Recruit, go through onboarding, hire them into EC. Again, you want to make sure that that is going through and you're not seeing any issues, as well as being able to really understand the functionality. There sometimes are changes that you need to notice to make changes to documentation or training guides you may have out there. There are a lot of resources available to you also. Make sure you're going out to the SAP customer community site. They have a great landing page with all of their release information and all the links right there for you. Join those QA sessions that SAP holds. They're starting now, so please make sure you are registering for those. They do have them as on demand as well, so make sure you register and then you can listen to those recordings later if you're not available at that time. And most importantly, of course, here at Rizing, we have been doing this and helping our customers for years now through the release management process. So please come and join us at rizing.com. We have a great section. We have detailed blogs from this great panel of experts. We have additional guides and information for you to help you through the release. All right, now let's deep dive into those module-specific items. I'm going to start here with Tim, and he's going to walk us through some of the EC and time management items.
Thanks, Shannon. So for Employee Central, there's been a number of really cool changes that they've implemented this round. This is not the exhaustive list. Obviously, make sure you go and check out the release What's New viewer and take a look. But these are some of the highlights that we want to go through today. So the first one is around quick actions. So this is a new functionality that they've made available within Employee Central. And what it does is allows you to use some pre-delivered use cases around editing or viewing data right on the homepage. And so you will be able to customize these templates to your own sort of specific fields that you want to be able to see that correspond to that quick action. The best thing about this is it is available in the new AI Joule, which will come later when we're talking about platform, as well as the mobile application and the Teams integration as well for Microsoft. So these are really cool things that they want to be able to implement, that you can make these changes on the fly without having to go directly to their record and make the change, etc. So that's the first one. Second one is around centralized services updates. So there's been a few different updates coming around this release. One of the main things is that the previous centralized services updates were no longer allowed to be opt-out. So those ones that may or may not have been opt-out on your instance, to make sure and test that functionality and understand what's now universal, as opposed to what was previously able to be opt-out. In addition, there are some number of different ones around new centralized services that are being implemented this release. Compensation and global benefits integration from within the compensation information area of Employee Central, workflow for dependents, hire and rehire with a fixed term contract, as well as concurrent and global assignment, and then termination imports around pension payouts. So those are all things to make sure to test it out. They're automatically turned on as part of this release, but they are available for opting out. So they're definitely things to take a look at and test within your preview instance. The next thing is around the compensation structure. So now this is a new object they're adding to the compensation information portlet. This will allow more flexibility and more control around what pay components are made available for employees to be added to their records, as well as what's required and preventing them from being deleted. So this gives you more flexibility around controlling those objects on the employee without having to implement a lot of updating business rules and validation checks and things like that. This is the first time this is being introduced, so expect this to be shaped over the next few releases. The last thing is around the configuration transport center. So as most of you should be aware by now, the instance synchronization tool will reach end of life in November 2024. The configuration transport center becomes the new transport module to move configuration between one instance and another. They've improved upon this around using the business configuration UI, as well as adding configuration areas and a couple of other updates as well. So definitely check that out. Become familiar with that. It is a good transport model for moving information between instances. Okay, next, we'll move into the time management pieces. So for Employee Central time off, there's a couple of changes here that we wanted to make sure we highlight. One is around the time profile. So this has now become effective dated. So any changes that you make to time profile is not going to come up with that warning saying this time profile is now in use and you're not allowed to change. So this will now allow you to put in effective dated changes to these profiles so that you can future date changes to your what time types are allowed and how that is interacting. One of the other big things is around time type filters. So previously you weren't able to filter time types directly. You would either be able to say it's employee self-service or it's not. Now you'll be able to use rule-based criteria to say whether or not the time types are available. One of the examples they provided was around maternity leave and the requirements around that, so that only shows up for female employees, etc. So previously you would either have to try to filter those out through validation rules or create multiple time profiles. So now it gives you more flexibility and keeps it more standard in terms of the profile setup. The next one is around time forms generation. So this is using document generation in order to produce reports or on-demand document templates that can be created through document management using the time management fields. So you could potentially create a list of all the times you've gone on sick leave or particular leaves for any sort of auditing purposes or just for general knowledge and usage there. So it's good to have that data set now available within document generation. And the last piece for time off is around the time recording profile visualization. So this is for timesheets. One of the biggest problems that we've had with trying to evaluate these time recording profiles with all the valuations within them is trying to figure out exactly where each piece is and what is used within a different valuation and things like that. So this provides a visualization of that structure without having to go through each valuation and essentially figure it out on the fly. So this is a huge sort of step forward for ease of understanding of what those valuations are going to be doing. So then combining this with the tracing on the timesheet should give you a good idea of exactly what these timesheets are producing.
If I had an audience clapping button, I would press it. Those are some big enhancements into the EC time off module. This release, those are great.
Exactly, yeah, it's going to help a lot, especially for end client understanding of exactly what the configuration is doing. So that's a huge step forward.
Agreed.
The last piece is around time tracking. There's been some improvements on the automatic timesheet submission. So there's a couple of different options there around putting in deviation-based submissions based on an offset value. So 1 or 2 days after or before the setup, and then you'll have rule-based criteria based on submissions for things like if you only have imported timesheet entries, you can set them up as an automatic submission. And then the last one is around calendar-based. You could provide an actual calendar of when the timesheets get automatically submitted. So it gives them time to submit to record the timesheet, save it, and then after a certain date, it will get submitted automatically. So a lot more flexibility there around what those automated timesheet submissions. The next piece is going to help a lot of people that are using clock in, clock out functionality within timesheets is that it's now available within the instance refresh. So anytime you need to be able to refresh instances, usually from production down to your test and QA instances, you will now be able to include those clock in, clock out configuration, whereas previously you would have to have gone through a ticket and done it through the SAP ticket system, which usually takes a little bit longer. But now it's all automated and it's available within the instance refresh, which is a really good thing to have.
That's another big bonus.
Yes. There's been a lot of people asking for that.
Yeah.
The last piece is around time record delta definition. So this is when you're recording time records within the timesheet or within time tracking, you'll be able to say offset a start or end date based on the start date of the following record. So if you have premium pay 2 hours before the scheduled working time, you can then set that up as the time record creation to be 2 hours prior to the end date of the record. So it gives you that ability to automatically assign these dates based on the offset of the records. And that's it for time management.
Great. Thank you, Tim. I too am very excited about seeing these time management items coming through. It's definitely exciting to see SAP continuing to enhance that product. Next up, I would like to have Kelly talk to us a little bit more about what's happening in the EC Global Benefits space. Kelly.
Thank you, Shannon. So in the benefit space, it's all brand new. So lots of changes happening there. There are some major changes that are being implemented. In specifically 3 new enhancements that are major enhancements. The first being the new eligibility rule around the custom base date rule. This is an enhancement for those customers that need a custom date to determine or base that eligibility on that is not within the same normal base rule set, maybe as all the other benefits. Maybe they have a different date. Maybe it's an acquisition date or a different date that is outside of the same rule set as every other date that they're currently storing. So this is a third option for those customers that need that eligibility rule date, which is a great enhancement feature for them. Next on the list is an opt-out option or a waive feature. So a waived benefit option for any carry forward benefits that the employee would carry forward year over year. This is an opportunity for those employees to go in during open enrollment and opt out or waive that benefit from carrying forward into the next year. So those would end as of the last day of the current year for benefits and would not carry forward into that January 1 date for a traditional plan year of benefits. This is a great feature for not only the customer who now have a dignified waive record for those employees, but also for carriers to receive that waived notification for each of those employees in those selections. So that was a great addition this year. That's one that we've been waiting for quite some time. And then the last one is non-eligible dependents being scrubbed and not allowed to be uploaded during that load feature. So during the load process for that dependent file, that file is going to error out. If you now attempt to load non-eligible dependents within that dependent file, you will get an error, and you'll be told what that error is on that dependent file if you have those included. This is important for customers who load eligibility inside those files within global benefits. So this is just particular to that dependent file record. But if they're located in there, it will definitely let you know that you have loaded folks that are no longer eligible for benefits within that file. So, but at least we get errors now, and you're told what the error is. So that's very good news for us. And so outside of this is not an exhaustive list. There's some minor enhancements that are definitely a part of this release. And then there's a lot of notifications about things that we have been really mentioning for a long time as far as deprecated items, old jobs that have been running. There's changes for API paths and things like that, all a part and in preparation for the constant changing and improving reimagined benefits that is on the roadmap and continuing to be improved and rolled out. So lots of notifications about those, a particular one about savings plans, APIs, paths being moved around in order to make new room for the foundation objects of where those are going this time. So lots of changes on the EC Global Benefits roadmap. So stay tuned to the SAP sites for that. Ms. Shannon?
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Always exciting to hear what's happening on the benefits side. Next up, we have Heather, who's going to walk us through the compensation and variable pay. Heather, what are you seeing with this release?
Well, there's just like has been mentioned already, there's a number of compensation and variable pay upgrade opportunities or enhancement opportunities in this release. We're only going to highlight a handful of those in the interest of time, but do go out and take a look at the What's New viewer for that detail. The first one I want to just call attention to is the deprecation of the legacy executive review filters. Those were replaced earlier this spring, and that deprecation will be hitting with the next release in May of 2024. One of the other nice enhancements is the ability to use the general display name functionality when doing bulk downloads of statements, so that the actual name of the PDFs are including the general display name, so it's much clearer to tell who's in each file. There's also some enhancements to the planner audit tool. We encourage you to take a look at that. That's going to give you the ability to access change history in the planner document, so that's really useful. Also, there are a number of enhancements to rewards and recognition that you should go out and take a look at. They also turned on the ability for configuring point-based reward programs to be on by default. Previously, an administrator had to actually enable that feature, so that's good news on that front. And that's the quick highlights for compensation and variable pay. Do go out and take a look at the longer list of opportunities to make improvements to your system out on the What's New viewer.
All right, great. Thank you, Heather. All right, let's move on to, and we're going to hear Heather a little bit later as well. She'll come back and join us for some additional talent modules. But let's move on to recruiting and onboarding. So Hassan, from recruiting and onboarding, let us know what you think are some of these highlights that we're seeing in this space.
Yeah, great highlights, great enhancements this release. We will discuss enhancements related to released in the second half of 2023 for recruiting and onboarding. I will go through the enhancements that are high impact for the client. So first, recruiting. The first one that I've selected is applicant management feature, new opt-out, meaning you have to disable it if you don't want to use it. SAP introduced the new applicant workbench in an off-cycle release in October of 2023 as a general available opt-in feature. SAP wants to encourage wider adoption of the redesigned applicant management tool. And in this release, they have enabled it automatically. The redesigned applicant management tool is definitely an upgrade from the legacy candidate workbench. It provides an improved user experience for searching, filtering, displaying individuals who have applied for a specific job. Enhancement enables the latest workbench, applicant workbench automatically. This is highly recommended by Rizing to use the new applicant workbench for the enhanced experience. The second one that I've selected is the prepare for or evaluate interviews in Microsoft Teams. This is an enhanced integration of recruiting, Interview Central, and scheduling with Microsoft Teams. By enabling this integration, you establish service connection between SAP SuccessFactors and Microsoft 365. Functionally, how it works is SAP SuccessFactors app sends a message to your chatbot 24 hours ahead of a scheduled interview in Teams. 2 notification cards come along with the message. The one has applicant information, so interviewers can click on the card and see the applicant basic information, and they can generate interview questions based on the job description using AI, artificial intelligence. And the second one is interview evaluation. Interviewers can preview the skills and competencies they can use to evaluate the applicants. After the interview, they can rate the applicants and give additional feedback inside the teams, or choose View in Interview Central to complete the evaluation in SAP SuccessFactors Interview Central directly. Data provided in Teams is synchronized in Interview Central in real time. This enhancement is recommended. Sorry.
There's been a number of Teams enhancements this round as well. This is actually becoming quite a involved integration that's involving a lot of things from Employee Central as well as the platform side. Yes, this enhancement has the clients have been waiting for it. Every client that I've implemented, especially Interview Central and scheduling on, they always asked for Microsoft Team integration. There was a basic integration before this release, but they have enhanced it and improved it a lot. And we recommend this enhancement for all the companies that are using Microsoft Teams, Interview Central, and scheduling. The next one is adoption of skill attributes in Interview Central. Again, this is something clients have been asking for a while now. Every client I have implemented Interview Central on has asked for it, and SAP has taken it to the new level by providing the capability of evaluating candidates in Teams, as well as directly in Interview Central. After this enhancement, interviewers can use competencies plus skills added onto the job requisition to evaluate applications and provide ratings in Interview Central. Before this, only competencies could have been used to evaluate applications. Interview Central work without competencies and skills present on the requisitions. However, with competencies and skills, the user experience is enhanced
when an interviewer views the interview assessment form. All companies using skills attribute and Interview Central should go get this enhancement done. The next one is anonymizing the candidate profile and their disqualified applications together. This enhancement is based on the requirement coming from many customers for quite a while now. Before this enhancement, there was no way of anonymizing disqualified applications that were associated with the candidate profile. You had to wait for the application to reach the legal minimum period set for the instance. In the current version, the delete candidate page is now called anonymized candidate profile and includes two distinct settings. The first setting allows you to find the applicants by name or email address and then anonymize their disqualified applications at the same time by anonymizing their candidate profile. The second option will allow you to anonymize disqualified applications for those applicants that have whose candidate profile has been already anonymized in the system. So all the candidates you have anonymized in the past, you can now anonymize their disqualified applications using this feature. These are just the major and high impact enhancements that came out in second half of 2023. If you have any questions about these or any other enhancements on onboarding, please do not hesitate to contact Rizing. Now I will go through the enhancements of onboarding. Onboarding has some great enhancements, but I will go through the ones that are high impact for the clients. So a new parameter in create onboarding function import. Every client who integrates onboarding with the external applicant tracking system has this as a pain point. With this enhancement, we can now use an external ATS to initiate the transfer of an employee from one legal entity to another within the organization. It was not possible in the past. SAP has added an internal user ID and hire type parameters to create onboarding OData API function import. It is a big improvement if you are integrating with the third-party ATS. The second one that I've selected is custom tasks for onboarding and offboarding program. In this release, SAP has introduced the much-awaited functionality of creating and defining custom tasks and adding them to the existing onboarding and offboarding programs. We already have requests lined up from existing customers and customers we are implementing onboarding for. Someone said something?
No, I just was saying that's a great one. I think that's going to be really valuable.
Yes, many clients were asking for it, and finally we have it. Before, you only had the option to use the standard tasks provided by SAP, and most of the time they did not fulfill the requirements of the organizations. The custom tasks that you define can be required or optional. You can set due dates, assign them to onboarding participants like new hire, employee, managers, or responsible groups. You can use the customizable email notification template to create email notifications that are automatically sent to the task assignee when the task is assigned to them or when it's completed. Again, a great feature for any customer who has task requirements to be completed by any onboarding participants not covered by standard tasks. The next one is a new employment profile selection page for rehire and internal hire. In the event of internal hire and when you're rehiring an employee on a legal entity transfer from with new employment, after this enhancement, you can now choose a matching employment profile and proceed to onboarding using the new employment profile selection page. The employment profile selection tab continues to display pre-onboarding rehire verification and onboarding rehire verification to-do card that allows you to continue performing the rehire verification task. This tab also displays the new employment profile selection to-do card. This enhancement is recommended for all the customers with the internal hire and rehiring an employee on a different legal entity which is a very common scenario. The last one, and this is a legal requirement, the USCIS form I-9 enhancement. As we all know, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services released the new version of USCIS form I-9 on August 1st of 2023. SAP made the updates to form I-9 to reflect the recent USCIS updates. So you can start using the new form before November 1st, and it's a legal requirement, and it's a universal change, universal update that is updated automatically in your instance. These were just a few major high impact enhancements released in the second half of 2023. If you have any questions or need more information about these or any other enhancements, please reach out to Rizing. Shannon?
And I think it's also important to highlight that Onboarding 1.0 as a product is coming to an end and officially has been put out by SAP this release as well. So that's another good point for customers to start looking at lifting, shifting, re-implementing whatever makes more sense for them, switching to Onboarding 2.0.
Thank you for that addition, Jorge. Shannon?
All right, great, thank you. All right, some great information with recruiting and onboarding, and let's move on now back to Heather to walk through some of the talent module specifics, and we'll talk about Talent Intelligence Hub first.
Perfect, thanks, Shannon. So hopefully you've heard of Talent Intelligence Hub. This is going into general release with this second half of 2023 release. And there's quite a bit of good information out there on the customer community. It was highlighted during a recent Success Connect. And this is a huge lift for the talent modules. This is technically a platform feature, but most of its capabilities are leveraged within the talent modules. I will be trying to highlight where some of those are for the various modules as we go along. This is a part of your platform. It is something that could be enabled via the Upgrade Center. There are some prerequisites that are a part of doing this enablement, so I want to call attention to those. The Talent Intelligence Hub requires that Job Profile Builder be enabled in your instance, and it also requires some work on the front end to migrate families and roles data, as well as competency library information from its current location into that platform. There's a handful of things I just encourage you to consider before you actually go into Upgrade Center and flip the switch. Obviously, do go out and read the literature about this great new platform feature. Also consider your readiness for this, because there is, as I mentioned, some data migration work to be done. And there's also perhaps some work to be done in terms of populating some of the information that can reside inside Talent Intelligence Hub. One of the other key things to know about enabling it is that it is not backwards compatible. So if you do upgrade to this Talent Intelligence Hub capability within the Upgrade Center, you can't back it out. So you want to be 100% sure you're ready to explore this feature in your preview instance before you go through that voluntary upgrade. A handful of characteristics about the Talent Intelligence Hub, just to familiarize you. The Talent Intelligence Hub is basically a centralized opportunity for organizations to populate more than simply competencies about employees. There's been a need for robust skills capability in SuccessFactors for a long time, and it's here now. It comes with Talent Intelligence Hub. So in many of the ways that you can use competencies across the suite, you'll be able to do the same with skills in Talent Intelligence Hub. A handful of examples: in performance management, you'd be able to rate on both competencies and or skills inside the context of a performance form or 360 form. Within career development planning, with the career worksheet, it's possible to go through a gap analysis assessment, not only on the competencies that are required for roles you're interested in, but also skills. There's also some nice opportunities for job-specific skills to be shown and used on Recruiting's Interview Central, like competencies are today. There's also some great AI that's working in the tool that will ultimately, over time, be able to recommend skills to employees or to data mine information in their continuous performance management or CPM detail, so that they can have those as a part of what's called their growth portfolio. You want to think of the growth portfolio as an individualized page that is accessible right from the home page, that captures all the job-specific competencies that are part of the employee's role, any job-specific skills that have been mapped or identified for their roles, but also it gives them the opportunity on an individual basis to supplement that profile with other skills that they know that they have that are not necessarily just mapped to their existing role today. It also allows for clients to create other types of characteristics in a library, like work styles or motivations or what have you, and then people can add those kinds of characteristics to their profile that they think best represent them. The other nice updates, I'll just call attention to one or two more. Within Succession, those skills are able to be searched within the talent search feature. And it's also possible within calibration to calibrate on skills proficiency ratings. So definitely huge new opportunities to leverage that people or employee specific data across the system for the employee's growth as well as for the business.
It really does highlight the more integration between these modules as well, and it provides a lot more visibility into what those integrations are and how and where they're coming from. It's not as shadowy as it used to be.
Exactly. You know, it does allow us to have competencies on a performance form, but for a lot of people, that might be the one opportunity throughout the year that they're really looking at the job specific competencies or what have you for their role and really analyzing how that's going. So this does provide some really robust real-time opportunity to see that information and leverage it in some key places across the suite. The last main call out I'll give you around Talent Intelligence Hub is because it is so skills intensive, there is a skills ontology or a series of 3 databases, skills databases that SuccessFactors is leveraging so that the AI technology can go through and scrub the employee data on the continuous performance management tool or within learning or within some of the other applications to identify skills that are relevant to the employee or might be suggested skills for the employee. And it also includes some heads down work or some decision-making work around mapping your job specific skills to your roles. So you do want to make sure that you're ready to endeavor, you know, into the skills world to take advantage of some of these great new points of integration between Talent Intelligence Hub and the rest of the suite. All right, let's pivot and we can talk about our next topic, which should be performance and goals. So there's great news that with this most recent release, there have been some additional enhancements put in place that really are closing some of the last remaining gaps that existed between the longer standing legacy version of goal management and this latest goal management that's been out for several releases now. That's something I'd encourage you to take a look at out in the What's New viewer to see what some of those enhancements happen to be. Also, you'll experience a new look and feel to the performance forms. When you go in and you take a look in your preview instance, you're going to notice a variety of things. It's easier to see the page on wide monitors, for instance. They've also tried to enhance and change some of the button placement and make it a bit more intuitive. So you'll continue to see those enhancements with this release. There were a handful that we saw with the prior release as well. As I mentioned, if you do go the route of enabling Talent Intelligence Hub and populating job-specific skills, those can be rated on within a performance form or a 360 form, which is really nice new capability. From a performance perspective, your users are also going to experience a new look and feel to the My Forms page. When they click into the performance choice in the menu, they land in their inbox, and that's gotten a new look. They've given some additional search capabilities at the top. For instance, what if you want to search for not just your direct reports forms in your inbox as a manager, maybe you're a matrix manager and you want to be able to see your matrix reports forms and so forth. So that's some really nice capabilities that they've added there as well. I do want to call attention to 360 and the retirement of the V11 legacy 360 templates that has come with this release. So ideally, you've moved your 360 forms onto the new template, but if not, that will be necessary before you go forward and try and launch additional 360 forms going forward. I think you'll like the new upgraded Fiori version of the 360 template, so definitely explore that if you have not made that conversion already. And then there have been some improvements with latest CPM. The main call out, though, that I'd like you to pay attention to is the fact that latest continuous performance management is being upgraded or pushed into the instances for those that have the legacy version today. However, they have added a temporary opt-out option for those clients that are just not quite ready to roll this out to their employees. You will have until the next release, May 24, to make that voluntary upgrade. So if they enable this in your preview instance and you're not ready, you can temporarily opt out until the next release via the Upgrade Center. And you do have to do that opt out in both preview and production. So do go to that additional extent after the release hits in November. Okay, let's go ahead and advance on. Succession and CDP, those are areas that are close to my heart. Those are my favorite modules. I'm happy to say that Succession got a nice enhancement with a new setting that's referred to as emergency cover. It's a way to identify successors not only by a readiness rating, but also to identify separately whether a nomination is only for an emergency or an interim basis type placement. So an example of that might be that you have a person that might be a good successor candidate for a position, but they're still maybe 1 to 2 years out from a readiness perspective. So that's technically their readiness rating, but could they cover it in the event of a medical leave need or what have you on a short-term basis today? Perhaps, and you might want to be able to designate that. So that now is an option when you're doing the nominations. It's easy to turn that on within your admin center. And it's something that might be an enhancement to how you're doing your planning. They've also done some nice enhancements to the mentoring feature. So one of the things that they've done is they've made it possible to reopen a mentoring program that was previously closed. That was not possible before. So that's been a much requested improvement that's been added. Also, there is now the ability to either add mentors or mentees to the most strict type of program, the supervised programs, once it's already in progress. So if you have a person that maybe was going to be a mentor, they were matched up with someone, but they have to withdraw, you can go in and remove that participant while the program is in progress. So from a Talent Intelligence Hub perspective, the Career Development Planning Module's Career Worksheet now has the ability for you to see the job-specific competencies related to the role that you might be interested in on your career worksheet and be assessed on that skill so that you can see gap analysis information around that and perhaps enhance those skills to be better ready for opportunities that you might apply for in the future. As I mentioned, with Talent Intelligence Hub enabled and job-specific skills in place, you can use the talent search tool to look for people that have specific skills that you need as a leader or as an administrator. And one last piece that I want to call attention to, with latest goal management in place, the development goal choice that used to exist in the home menu is now clustered or combined under one common header, which is goals. So when the user clicks into goals, they'll see 2 tabs at the top, one to access their performance goal plan and one that would allow them to see their development goal plan. All right. I think the last one I want to walk you through is Opportunity Marketplace. This is a separate feature or separate module within SuccessFactors, and they're continuing to make improvements to this relatively new offering. They do have some new enhanced recommendations capabilities. So if Talent Intelligence Hub is enabled, the AI capabilities within that tool allow the system to go out and look at internal opportunities that might exist, whether it be a mentoring program or a learning course, or perhaps internal openings via recruiting, and make recommendations on the employee's Opportunity Marketplace page. So again, we're seeing the broad reach of the Talent Intelligence Hub and the points of integration there. And one administrative improvement that I'd call attention to, they have now given administrators the ability to decline assignment applications in Opportunity Marketplace. So if perhaps one of the custom opportunities that you build in Opportunity Marketplace is a special assignment type of program, the administrator might need to decline people who don't meet the requirements. And so now they have a more nimble way to be able to do that within Opportunity Marketplace as they manage those assignments. Okay. So lots of good stuff in talent. It's fun to see some new capabilities come in and see the means of supporting the skills for employees and employers in a way that we've not seen previously. Some really robust capability. All right, I'll pass it on to you.
All right, and actually, Heather, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Oh, did I?
Now we also have learning.
Learning, I'm sorry. Thank you, yes, excellent. So there are some big things in learning too. So you may have already noticed the new learning experiences now available in the environments. That includes a variety of nice new capabilities, much more intuitive, easy to use homepage experience as well, with some search capabilities, the ability to see time zones and course offerings on the homepage. Just some really nice enhancements there. There is, with Talent Intelligence Hub enabled, the opportunity to see some learning recommendations on the employee's growth portfolio, that one-stop shop to see information that relates to them. So that's a nice point of integration there. And we do want to call attention to the fact that the end of life for the native sign-in capabilities within learning is going to hit with the second half of 2024 release. So do begin to explore that if you're still using native sign-in, and look at what is going to be required to move on to the standard AIS opportunity for logins now. Now, Shannon, I think that was the last slide.
Thank you, Heather, so much for all of that great, valuable information. Definitely appreciate that. And then moving right along, we'll move on to Jorge, who's going to walk us through some people analytics and technical aspects of this release. Jorge, what are you seeing?
Thanks, Shannon. So what I can see is a lot of controversy. Probably if we need to start doing something new is a new poll as to what are the main controversial areas as part of the release. I think learning and reporting, it takes the lead in this release from my point of view. Starting with people analytics, I guess this is in everyone's mouth, is the deprecation of some of the reporting tools that have been used by customers and partners over the last few years. I'm referring to Canvas reports, table reports, tiles and dashboards, and also the kind of legacy classic reports. So it is a big change. And again, there is a lot of controversy and a lot of forums, people just pushing back, trying to understand what options they have, because it's a massive transition that they need to do into stories. So the rationale behind all these deprecations is to solely focus and to have people's stories as the go-to solution for all your reporting requirements and needs as a customer. I guess in some cases it makes sense. Canvas reports do look dated, and that's the feedback that we had from a lot of customers in the past. And stories is the normal evolution of those Canvas reports. In other cases, is a little bit more problematic, really, to provide a way forward, especially with tiles and dashboards. They were so easy to configure in some of the talent areas, like recruiting, performance and goals, and table reports. That's probably the one that takes the most criticism so far. I mean, hope is not lost. A lot of things can change between November 2023 and 2025 when this all deprecation alert will come into play. Definitely, there are other options for substituting table reports. Integration Center is probably the more similar tool that customers can leverage in case they don't want to go with the story option. But yeah, there is a lot of comments going on in the SAP SuccessFactors community forum.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that with Employee Central already. People are not freaking out, but it's definitely a topic of conversation coming up, especially the Canvas reporting.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, on the bright side, SAP has done a great job in terms of creating over 50 plus templates in stories, and most of them are in the platform for Employee Central space. So I guess that's probably the area where people can survive, but I guess other areas like talent is going to be more problematic to ramp up something from scratch. All right, moving on to the next one. So we still see a lot of enhancements into the story space, people's stories. Throughout the year, SAP released the Unified Story Experience, which has kind of two different parts, the design mode experience and the user experience. So it's on the admin side of things as well as the end user side of things. As part of this release, there are a few new enhancements divided into two main blocks. The first one is general speaking around stories. You can now copy and paste artifacts, widgets, tables across browser tabs, and that's very helpful if you have multiple tabs open in your browser. As well as the ability to now have blended charts now supported with this optimized design experience, which wasn't possible in the previous release. And the other main area of improvement is Data Analyzer. So Data Analyzer is brand new. Encourage all users to start looking at that. It's the replacement for the Explorer mode that we used to have in stories, probably more powerful with more capability. And as part of this release, there are new enhancements that allows you to manage and create thresholds in Data Analyzer, ability to enable this tool on a specific chart, and therefore open the same tool from that chart. And at the same time, you can switch from table to chart visualization or vice versa using Data Analyzer. So it's probably a big thing to keep an eye on. And the last item that I have from a people analytics point of view is the option now to consume live data from from SuccessFactors into SAC. And the reason why I'm highlighting this is because there will be big players out there, big customers that have invested heavily in SAP products, not just SuccessFactors being one application available, but also the enterprise-grade reporting tool, which is SAP Analytics Cloud. And that opens some discussions in terms of reporting strategy as to where is now best for those type of customers to start creating and updating their stories. Probably it would make more sense to start using SAC and create stories directly from there, because at the end of the day, with this new enhancement, you have live connectivity with all the data points, the data model from SuccessFactors. So that's all from a people analytics perspective. Now moving into the technical side of things. So a few things also equally important. The first one, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this has been on the table for a while and will keep coming release after release until we get to 2026, and is the deprecation of the HTTP basic authentication for APIs. In short, if you are making a call to SuccessFactors using an API or data API, and you're relying on a username and a password, that is not going to be possible once the deprecation takes place in 2026. There are much more robust authentication methods that SAP has been working on, and a lot of their applications have switched already. Some examples like ECP now uses certificate-based authentication with Employee Central. IS also uses certificate-based authentication with SuccessFactors and other tenants like BTP. So this is already in place within SuccessFactors ecosystem. However, there might still be some custom integrations developed by providers, customers, And it is important for them to just keep an eye on any calls that are made directly into SuccessFactors using this method, because they will need to change it. Otherwise, those integration points will stop working at that point. The second one is also equally important. It is the end of life for the single sign-on method between SuccessFactors and your corporate IDP using the legacy provisioning method. That will also go out of the window. And of course, the replacement Identity Authentication Services, or IS, as we all refer to, is going to be mandatory as part of this deprecation alert. So it is important that if you are one of those customers that are still out there and haven't upgraded to IS, please have a look, because there is not much time left for you to adopt that. And especially if you have single sign-on with the classic identity providers such as Azure, Okta, and whatnot, it is very simple to implement. Okay. The next one down the line is the adoption of this common super domain, which is also related to the previous one, enforces you to adopt IS sooner or later. So the rationale, or the reason why SAP is now changing their URL, whether you're using SuccessFactors or you're using Identity Authentication or SAP BTP or the other various systems that exist with their own URLs, SAP is changing all of those URLs to start using a common super domain. That common super domain will look like cloud.sap. So if you look at your existing SuccessFactors URL, successfactors.com, or your ondemand.com, if you are working with identity authentication, the URL will change to cloud.sap. The reason behind this is because of the third-party cookie deprecation. So major web browsers are planning to discontinue the support to these third-party cookies. And in response to that, SAP is converting all these to first-party cookies by using the same super domain across all the applications. So it is important that for all customers that there will be an upgrade-centered job to facilitate the migration. It should be available as part of this release. My recommendation is to just wait for the next one, because the deprecation of the third-party cookies is not here yet, and there might be some fine-tune adjustments before now and then. And the last one is like common theme, Microsoft Teams integration. It was introduced last release H1 2023. But as we have seen during the last few months and also this release, there is more and more functionality that is being exposed to Teams. I guess SAP understands that a lot of people tend to use Teams on a daily basis, like we do. And in some cases, you don't want users to go and authenticate into SuccessFactors and instead leverage some of the applications that have been exposed to Teams. So a lot of areas in the system are impacted. Employee Central with quick actions, recruiting with the ability to integrate with Interview Central and interview scheduling, performance and CPM with the ability to do the same work outside SuccessFactors, and a few others as well. So it is important that it is strengthening the partnership between two IT giants, SAP and Microsoft. It's not the first time that they partner and provide out-of-the-box integration points. So it's important to keep an eye on that. That's all from me, Shannon. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Jorge, so much. All right. Well, we will wrap up our session here with Tim coming back on and walking us through some general platform items. Tim.
Thanks, Shannon. So back again, just to wrap it all up. From an overall solution standpoint, we want to look at some of the platform-based enhancements that are coming. One is one of the big ones that a lot of people have been looking for, is around your artificial intelligence assistants, which is Joule, which is what is now available in SuccessFactors. It does have the prerequisite of identity authentication services, so IAS is required, so it's definitely something to look into. But this does provide a more interactive assistant, be able to utilize a number of different things to view information within the system, make actions within the system, and it also interacts directly with the quick action functionality that we mentioned within EC as well. So definitely more availability of an artificial intelligence now within the SuccessFactors suite. So it's something to look at, and it's obviously going to get more and more available as the releases progress. The next thing is, anytime we start talking about any sort of deprecation or anything like that, you start getting chest pains and cold sweats. One of the big things is around rule scenarios. So one of the things that was announced this release was around the deprecation schedule for the basic rule removal. And so what that means is any rules that have been created using the basic rule scenario, which was used to be the default, will now be unable to be created through basic rule. So anything that exists already is not going to get removed. It's more around the creation of any new basic rules will be removed as of June 2024. But what that means is the rule scenarios themselves will need to be used more often. And so there is a migration available. You can add scenarios to an existing basic rule where it's applicable. Some of them you will have to create from scratch, but the direction that is going more and more scenario based. And what that means is it pre-populates a lot of the data that you will need during the rule that's specific to the scenario that you're creating it for. So it's definitely recommended to use these scenarios. There have been some enhancements around off-cycle event batch, internal hires, as well as variable pay planning. So they're definitely adding more and more scenarios as they go, but it's definitely something that people need to look at within their system. Any basic rules that they currently have, take a look at the migration path to move them to these scenarios. In some cases, there will be certain rules that won't trigger unless the scenario is being used. So it's definitely something that people need to take a look at. Okay, the next one is another deprecation. It's around the legacy purge. So this was that purge inactive user that some people still are using, which will actually be removed in May 2024. But what that means is instead of using that purge inactive user from the legacy purge, you'll now be using the DRTM purge master data instead. And so it's a shift to using the DRTM module and removing that legacy tool from the system. The DRTM master purge is a lot more robust. It uses the same format where you're purging specific users or a list of users. So the functionality itself remains the same. It's just removing that option around the legacy purge. So it's definitely something to take a look at. If you haven't already using it, definitely start taking a look at those. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was around some of the more visualization changes within the system. So you'll see that the Horizon theme that was opted out from that was introduced last release is now no longer able to be opted out. So if you haven't adopted the Horizon visual changes, now is the time to do it because you no longer have a choice as of this release. So definitely take a look at any of those changes that have occurred based on the Horizon theme. The old themes within the system are now being removed, the quartz and etc. So if they're still being used, they are getting removed. There are some minor changes to the visualizations that are affecting every module. So there's minor placements, fonts, things like that. So definitely take a look, make sure you get familiar with what it looks like. One of the other main things is around the menu icons. Within the main navigation, now you'll see a list of icons next to the menu, which will be persistent. So anytime you change a label of a specific module within the menu, the icon will remain the same. So it makes it easier for navigation that way, but it's definitely a big change in terms of the visualization there. The last one is around the old legacy help and tutorials has now been removed and is being replaced by the built-in support, which will be auto-enabled for all users, which takes the icon of the headset in the top right-hand corner of the screen, and those people that were set up for the Ask HR system will be using a different icon going forward. So some changes there from a visualization standpoint. Definitely take a look at it and make sure everything is where it's supposed to be and makes sense.
Yeah, definitely, Tim, right? That's definitely one of those where I'm saying go in and take a look. You may need to update some guides and training information that you have out there. I know I'm just a creature of habit, and already when I go into those instances, I'm like, where did company info go? It's not where I thought. My mouse just automatically goes there. It's now towards the top. So definitely call up for those visual things because they're very nice and I'm excited to see them, but definitely, we'll change a little bit of that experience.
Yeah, it does throw you off. So definitely get used to it before it hits production.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Thank you, Tim. Also, I wanted to call out just a little bit update on that, on Joule, which we are so super excited to see that and see that come out. But there has been an update that actually will not be part of the actual release. SAP expects that to be coming out and available after the release in an off cycle. So again, we are super excited to see that, and there is a live blog out on the community that we encourage everyone to go click subscribe, follow that for all the latest updates on with the Joule piece.
Thanks, Shannon.
All right. You. All right. Well, that wraps up what we have for you today. Again, I encourage you to go out to rising.com. We do have a lot of release information out there. Our panel of experts have all produced fantastic detailed blogs about some of these items and additional items. Again, Rising, we are here to support you if you do need any assistance. Our managed services teams in this time of year, we are living and breathing this release. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out to us. I would like to thank our panel of experts here for taking their time today, highlighting and sharing their thoughts on these items. And thank you so much for joining us as well. We hope that this information was helpful for you as you navigate this SAP SuccessFactors second half release of 2023. Thank you, everyone.